good morning, and happy Sunday to you. Look at this beautiful day. I love this day. This day is July the 15th, and this day holds so much, just like a breath of fresh air. July 15th was actually the day that I left clinical nursing. And I'll tell you how it went down. It was not this grand departure. What happened was I actually quit my job on the spot. Like, I had been preparing to leave for a number of months. When I took that last role working as this nurse, it was in an outpatient setting. And when I was hired for that job, I gave myself a 12-month timeline. And the first day on the job, I shortened that to 9 months because I knew that this was not going to be the right fit for me. So as we were moving along through the course of, those months, I started putting into place actually my exit strategy and putting into systems in place so that whoever was going to replace me was going to be able to easily step into that role. And I remember I had set my timeline for departure was June the 15th. And by that point in time, I had already put away 6 months worth of cash reserves in the bank. So I had some mobility and control in order to be able to move. But I chickened out when that timeline came, when that June 15th day came. I was afraid because I didn't have anything that I was going to be moving towards. I knew that I did not want another job as a nurse, so I was really kind of lost in that angle. But by the same token, I knew that I wanted to be, in business for myself, having command over my schedule, building an organization that had a very clearly defined and operational value system, and without ever having any caps on, not just monetary gain, not just profits, but also, an individual's ability to contribute and produce. I didn't want to have the lid on that any longer, but I had no idea really what it was that I wanted to do. Well, what happened on this July 15th was, we had a bunch of call-ins, and it was not this big clinic. It was very, very small, and I worked with wonderful people, so it was definitely not the people with whom I was working. It was the organization and just healthcare at large, where all of a sudden the clinic, we had very busy schedules, and everyone that I was going to be working with had called in. So I was going to be the only clinical person working on this day, and I knew it coming in that this was going to happen. And when I walked in, I remember the secretary, she just kind of looked at me and she was like, yeah, it's just you today. And I knew it. And it was just, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I said to her, you know what, I'm going to go in this other room and I'm just going to, talk to myself real quick. And the talk that I had with myself was not gentle. It was not like a, you know what, girl, it's okay. You're ready. You let's find a way to leave. It was more like, and I know that this is Sunday, but the conversation that I had with myself was actually out loud. And I if there was a mirror in the room, I would have looked at it, but I just said to myself, listen, bitch, if you don't leave now, you are going to be here forever. Okay? Everything that you stand for, patient safety, every single thing that you stand for as a person, as a nurse, as a professional, is being violated here. And if you don't get the fuck out now, you will be here forever. What the fuck is the matter with you? I mean, it was a very harsh talking to, and I had never just abruptly quit anything. Even when I was transitioning out of other places, I had always had either an exit strategy built in, there was time given in order to leave. And that was not the case with this. It was like there was birds inside of my chest, trying to flap and fly out of there. And so I thought, you know what, all right, fine, I'm leaving. I'm prepared to do this. But then what happened was the first patient of the day checked in. And so then, that logical side of me, also kicked in. And once a patient is there, then you have an obligation to, if you were to leave at that point as a healthcare professional, then that's grounds for patient abandonment and breach of duty to act. So I was stuck And then I can't even remember what I did, but I think that I called up one of the bosses and said that I was quitting and that I had a migraine and that I was leaving for the day. And so then they had to do some, fast arrangement, and they sent some girl from a different place to come over and take over for me. But I'll tell you, it was a weird time. It wasn't like this big triumphant, like, yay, I'm finally free. It was really hard to make that final step out. Even though I knew going in, I was not going into nursing. I was not going to stay forever. Taking this job, I was not going to be there long. I chickened out after my first timeline. I was 30 days past that timeline that I had set for myself. I was financially prepared, but because I didn't know what the thing was, I was timid to take any action, even though I had, some general idea as to what it was that I wanted to do next. So what I'm here to tell you is that you may not have a clearly defined plan which is in front of you, but when you have a bunch of reasons, like the reasons for you to stay are not great enough to supersede the reasons for you to go, sometimes you have to just prepare yourself for that departure, so that when you come across an opportunity, or in this case you create your own opportunities, you have that position in order to make your move, and now you're not trying to like paddle and keep yourself above water after you make that decision, if that makes sense. So this is July 15th, it's like my birthday. Just stay with God. He will always show you exactly where you're supposed to go, and just trust that there are going to be times that while He's preparing you for that next transition, there will probably be a time when you have to step out in what is at the time blind faith. And faith is always acting in, like, you have the foresight of what can only be seen in hindsight. And when you really start to own the fact that your faith will keep you where you need to be, and that God will always, command your next footsteps, you just have to stay open and ask for the wisdom, and ask for the discernment, and ask for the direction, that even though you have obstacles to step through, He will always put you in the place that you're supposed to be. So happy Sunday to you. Stay prayed up. Have a good week. Look at this. Good morning, girls. Love it.